Hello, my name is Brian Henry, and my topic of choice today is teachers and their freedoms of expression. The First Amendment. Teachers are afforded rights to freedom of expression. Within limits, they enjoy the same rights and privileges regarding speech and expression as other citizens. Free speech by teachers, however, is limited to the requirement that speech does not create material disruption to the educational interests of the school district. So that means as an administrator, you have to make sure that you follow board policy. As a teacher, not only follow board policy, you also need to make sure that you're following correct curriculum alignment, that you're not being insubordinate to your administrator, that you're following their directions and those guidelines as well. So what freedoms can schools restrict? Schools can restrict students in their use of free speech. In that instance, we might be talking about the school newspaper, as well as like yearbooks. We're not going to discuss that so much today. Issues that we'll talk a little bit more about would be controversial issues in academic freedom of teachers and their free speech, as well as teaching methods and how teachers teach their own curriculum and the curriculum set forth by the school board. Teacher speech outside the school. Teachers are afforded their First Amendment rights outside the school environment. When exercising such speech, teachers need to preface their comments by indicating that they speak as a private citizen rather than an employee of the school board. What this simply means is that if you have a hot topic issue, maybe you're talking about building a new school, and maybe you feel like money could be spent better elsewhere. You need to make sure that you're not at the local coffee shop, just making bad comments towards your school board or about your administration, saying well, maybe they don't need to be using that money in this way. They should be using it elsewhere. You need to make sure that since you are an employee of the school district and of the school board, that your own personal comments need to be from you and not as an employee of the school. So just preface, hey, this is my own personal feelings towards this issue. In any case, the teacher's speech should be professional in nature and its content not designed to harm or injure another's reputation. Teachers and their academic freedom. Teachers do not have the right to preach their religious beliefs in schools. That's why we have separation of church and state in public schools. Teachers should follow the text and the syllabus in their course. If there is a set guideline, some set core standards, a state curriculum, you need to be following that. If you put in extra material, it needs to make sure that it does still align and it is relevant. Teachers can be punished for discussing topics or disturbing materials that are not relevant. In other words, you want to make sure that just because something was maybe on the Tonight Show or on the news that was some hot issue, if it doesn't belong in your class, don't bring it up. Teachers may not be protected for controversial responses to students. In other words, if a student says, hey, what'd you do over the weekend? You need to make sure you're careful on what you say. And you may be punished for showing an R-rated movie. Just check, find more appropriate material to show in class. Teaching methods. Teachers can be punished for failing to submit lesson plans. One big reason for this is to make sure that you are following the state curriculum, the district guidelines. Make sure that you have backup plans. Make sure that you have everything aligned to go with the standards. The school district has final authority to review and assign grades. So as a teacher, you may feel like you have the final say, but if for some reason maybe you didn't care for a particular student, you gave them a lower grade than they deserve, the parents could come forward and the district does have the final say, the school board does, to change that grade. The school district may refuse to rehire a teacher because of a disagreement over teaching methods and philosophy. Even if you are tenured, this still can be something that might come up. They would talk about this being some form of insubordination if you're not teaching what the district has set forth. There is a broader interpretation of academic freedom in colleges than there are in public high schools. What the personal meaning here for teacher freedoms is to me, just recently at Circle High School where I teach, we had a teacher that made the local news for her lesson on the First Amendment. Didn't only make the local news, it was in several newspapers nationwide as well. What the teacher did is she took her American flag down from her wall and she proceeded to walk, stomp, and step all over it to prove her point that she had the protected rights to do just that, that was her First Amendment protected rights. Unfortunately, just because you have the protected right to do something, that doesn't always mean that you should. As the book states, our freedom of expression rights are protected. However, they are subject to reasonable considerations regarding loyalty, professionalism, and overall impact on the school. We as teachers, students are very impressionable, and many students have great respect for teachers. And if you do something, sometimes they take that as golden. So sometimes if you have an instructor that might push the boundaries on some issues a little bit, students might take that and run with it. They might see that as an opportunity for them to make a claim or a statement. So you just have to make sure that as teachers, make sure that we're following curriculum, make sure that it's something that is reasonable, that it doesn't make the school district look bad in any way. The ISLIC standard that I think ties into this whole unit is Standard 5, and it states that an educational leader is one who promotes the success of all students by acting with integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner. I think if you can follow those steps of integrity and fairness and ethical manner, if you follow those guidelines, you shouldn't find yourself falling outside the realms of free speech. As a wise person once said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Here are my references. Of course, Teacher's Pocket Guide to School Law. I also use 2 websites that I found, Teachers in the Law by Pearson Education, and Free Speech in Public Schools, the Center of Public Education. I am Brian Henry, and this is my second topic presentation over teacher freedom. Thank you.